So this is a garden cottage motif, and you're welcome to look up any of my other architectural motifs to see some of the techniques that I've used along the way. I've got the tropical set out here. If you've got the woodlands, then you can also refer to the Old World Townhome because I mix up those colors from that palette. But right here, or vice versa, you can look at this one and know how to mix up some of the terracotta that is available in that one already. So we've got this terracotta here I made from mixing hibiscus and tiki, and I'm adding that to the roof here. So this little roof line, I'm deciding to do terracotta, and you may want to practice doing some fine lines on your little piece of paper that's included in your Take and Paint. You can try color swatches on there or practice doing your details. I like to pull down toward myself. I'm watching how much pressure I'm putting on my brush so that I don't go outside the lines. If you do, you can just add a clear brush, clean your brush off really good with just water and kind of scrub at that to loosen the pigment and carefully dab it up with a paper towel. Okay. So I've got that terracotta outline. I also have some here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you can paint yours whatever colors delight you. Very muted, very bright. It's a ton of fun to change it up, so I'm kind of going by my original example for you, but I've done this one many times, and so it'd be a lot of fun to kind of change up the look of that. And I'm going to take, this is kind of like a wood paneling kind of situation here, so I'm just going to lightly put some of that down, and I'll add some layers to it later. Okay, so now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to go in and put in, you can leave the white of the paper in this background or kind of make it look like stucco to make a gray. By the way, I mixed up this, to get this color, I mixed up a tiny bit of this ocean and a little bit of hibiscus, came up with this gray right here. I also have the extra black in mine that I can do that. So I'm going to come in here and just add in a tiny bit of paint or stucco to this little whimsical house here. I'm just going to kind of spread some of that pigment around by loosening it up and distributing it. I'm going to try not to get it inside any of my flowers. So I'm really going around it loosely. I will not fill in everything. So that's a stylistic choice. You can decide what you would like to do for your painting, but I don't want all of it to be filled in. Oop, I have to go up here before this dries and spread this around. And just little bits of that pigment are making it over here to some of these areas. I don't want to add a ton of water. You'll have to wait longer before you do the rest. If you do, which is fine, you just have to take a break and do something else and come back. If it's not too wet, you can get it with a hairdryer if you need to speed up the process. If it's very wet, the hairdryer will just make it look runny all over your painting. Okay, and I'm going to get a little bit of a darker gray across the bottom here. This big, giant, dangerous step. Really got to watch it on this one. Doesn't meet code. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a minute, so why don't I work on my leaves on my tree. I picked this kind of celadon color, which is parrot and a little bit of tiki. You can use any green that you have at home or in this box. I've also done this with like a fall look, so that instead of green, I'm using more of these terracotta, brown, reddish colors. It's fun. This is kind of like a birch tree. You can also make it not a birch tree by painting the trunk brown. I'm going to leave it more of a white gray. But you know, birch trees in the fall, like they have more of that yellow leaf color that's so pretty. But in the summer, maybe they're a little more green, so you can come in and make it more of this color for springtime if you want. Because it's whimsical, it can really be whatever you want it to be. So I'm taking a little bit of this silvery and just very, very lightly, almost no water kind of coming across this trunk, just to keep it a little different than the white of the paper, but without, let's see, going here. I don't want it to look too dark, but I do want it to pop off the page just a bit. We're going to go in and do some of the details around the outside. I have this light blue here that I'm going to add to this trim. In this kit, I used the hibiscus. In the woodland set, you could use pond or stream. And if you've got something at home, just maybe water down a blue if you want to try to achieve this look. Add a little bit of green to it, can make it look a little more turquoise. So I've gone around that. And I'm going to leave this white and then do this in the windows in kind of this, it's a little bit green. And I'm leaving white of the paper in there. Want to take some of that pigment away because I do not want it very dark. All right, and now I'll do the same thing here. And I think I'll use that same color for my door. It's kind of a warm gray brown color there. You can always add like a little window or panels with a pencil or micron pen. And up here, kind of fill that in, and even here along the bottom you can sort of put in some grassy look if you want. You could add a sidewalk here if you'd like. You can always add in with a pencil some little flowers or just paint them in and add that background. You could add another tree, clouds in the sky, so you can really take this to another level. And might kind of add what might look like a panel here with just my light brush stroke. If you tried this and didn't like how it looked, you can always just come in with a pen or a pencil and kind of go around that later. And I'll do that doorknob. So I'm going to paint these flowers, kind of this sunset pinky color in here. It's a little muted. I think I added a tiny bit of brown to it just to tone down the vibrancy, because I know I wanted a fun but muted palette here. And now on my green, I would like it to be a little more, these leaves darker than here, so I'm adding a palm and tiki together. And I'll start here at the top. And it has a lot of pigment, so I'm going to take some of this and squeeze some water into it so that it's a little more muted. Let me siphon that out. If you get a bubble of water and it's just too much and you know it's going to make a mess and go everywhere, you can just take the edge of your paper towel, the corner, and kind of siphon it up into your quicker picker upper. Depending on what type of paper towel you have, it'll work easily, or might be a little tricky if you've got a less absorbent paper towel. And now I'm going to pop in some green here and a little bit of red in a few of them. And go over with some green. Oop. And you can put more detail on that if you want. And now I'm going to add a little bit of shadow with my gray. That had some green in it still, so. And if you want your design to be more simplistic, then I wouldn't go and put too many shadows in here. If you want it to kind of have that flat, stylistic look. I put a little too much in here, so I've got a clear brush, and I'm just going to tap on that one area. I don't want to take everything out. And you'd wait until that dries and add a little more in. So I'll just come here and do the same thing around my door frame, across this little area here, and now I said I was going to go back and sort of fill these in, so I'm coming in with another layer here, a little bit different color, just kind of following those lines a little bit, grabbing up any of the white of the paper that's still showing. You can put a line in here, oops. And you can also kind of put a shadow sort of along those lines just to define them.